Hello YouTube. Today I want to share about our experience with Second Baptist Church. I am a domestic violence victim and a sexual assault survivor, and my spouse was as well, and she's dead because of it. God, you speak now and let me get out of the way is my prayer to you. Amen. The grave betrayal we experienced from our elderly Bible study teachers was absolute pure evil. The church protects pedophiles who drug and rape children. There was a major cover-up by a mandated reporter and others. This individual was a retired member of law enforcement. My spouse was victim first by her father and other members of her family. He used drugs to facilitate sexual assaults on her as a child and as a teenager and adult. Our child was later attacked by her father prior to his own death. Unfortunately, when I learned this, her father had already died, so had she. My son was left for dead and hospitalized at 5 by her father. I came home to her father's house. We were staying there giving him end-of-life care. And I found my son laying on the floor in the bathroom, incapacitated. He had been drugged. After waking up to go to the bathroom and finding his grandpa standing over the bed next to his mother with a rag over her nose and mouth. He was in the process of trying to assault her. My son and I both suffered repeated attacks involving forcible drugging and suffocation, some of which occurred as we slept. My spouse had suffered decades of the very worst sexual and physical abuse. She was autistic and undiagnosed. She had multiple mental health problems, including bipolar disorder and psychopathy. And that was probably the result of her being abused. This abuse occurred with partial awareness of 2 of our Bible study teachers at Second Baptist Church. She confided in a woman there who was married to that retired police detective, and they kept it quiet, they kept it secret. The abuse resulted in my deceased wife having dissociative identity disorder, I believe. She wasn't strong enough to tell me what happened to her. Instead, she would beg me for death. She ended up in the hospital repeatedly, along with hundreds of doctor's visits over the years. We were married for almost 9 years. I found deleted text messages to her sister where she had admitted to being pregnant, sent her pictures of positive pregnancy tests, and subsequently she went online and got a list of abortion ingredients and performed abortions in secret without my knowledge at home. She was engaging in cruelty against people, and there were others that got hurt. She suffered a hidden addiction to ether, which was initially forced on her through CSA and SA by her father and perhaps others in her family. Her mother denied her father sex, and she cheated on him. And his recourse, I believe, because of the generational problem with incest in their family, was to go after his children. He had 3 daughters. There's 2 that are still alive. They still attend Second at the Woodway campus in downtown Houston. Well, not downtown Houston, West Houston, I should say. The church is not going to solve this. There have been other sex abuse scandals at Second Baptist Church. I put a Google review up warning people about the dangers because her mother is a threat. And there may be others as well who are threats. And they had it pulled down. Second Baptist had it pulled down. What is the price of blood? What is the price of the suffering of children? Look at my face. You see that there? That's from her cutting me with a knife in my sleep after drugging me. My wife started out as a victim and she became a perpetrator, and then she killed herself on my birthday. It'll be 8 years in September. I went to law enforcement and sought their assistance. I made some much greater discoveries in the process that have fundamentally changed the way that they investigate these crimes. And to date, law enforcement has done nothing to arrest or prosecute these individuals. And of course, because there were multiple individuals involved, they've tried to use Darvo against me to discredit me. And they won't go to the lengths that are necessary to stop these people. The church is corrupt. The crimes that they're covering up are extremely serious, and they're aggressive about protecting their reputation. I need reconstructive surgery on my face, and I deal with health issues because I was a victim. I was infected with mono and herpes, and the 2 Bible study teachers demanded my silence. I contacted the woman and explained many things that I learned via text message. And her husband, the retired police officer with Houston Police Department, demanded that I be silent and forget any of it had happened. He took an oath. Why are people who protect violent sex offenders being allowed to remain free? Why am I being silenced as a victim? We lost our house, cars, I lost my job, my insurance, my 401k, retirement, my life savings. I ended up with ruined credit. We became refugees. It took me a while to figure out what to do to mitigate what was happening to us, but I figured it out. The reason these problems continue is because you have police officers and various other individuals in different institutions who are guilty of sex crimes themselves. Just this week, HPD arrested a veteran of Houston Police Department who had been involved in activities for years of such a nature. He had been with HPD for 32 years. We have a public corruption problem in this country. There are criminals who are out there who are walking among us in uniform. Police officers, detectives, people within management of those institutions. And they simply do not put enough focus on preventing that kind of corruption. And what's happening is these individuals end up in trusted positions in other institutions as well. And victims can't get help. They can't get legal assistance. I was denied legal aid 5 times, along with my son. And I experienced swatting calls and false reporting using Darvo to try to turn the tables against me as an individual. Why do they allow this to happen? People want the liberty to be corrupt in their private lives. They want to marry who they want to marry, and they want to have sex with who they want to have sex with, even if it's against the law. And the police know this. The church knows this, and it's controversial to try to challenge the free choices of those individuals who give money in large quantities to the church. My wife's family gave a fortune, an enormous sum of money to the church. They were brainwashed into tithing. It wasn't just a Second Baptist. They attended Sugar Creek in Sugar Land before that. And something caused them to depart from that institution unexpectedly. And before that, they attended another Baptist church, which closed its doors. I think you get the direction I'm going with this. It's a hyper-prevalent issue, incest and child sex abuse. And now you have companies like Google that are pulling down people's reviews and the experiences they have with an institution where something terrible has happened to try to silence victims further. And it has to stop. There's been no accountability for those responsible. Her sisters knew what was going on. They were adults. She was the youngest of them. Her mom was aware and actively complicit. She was guilty. Her dad was a violent sex offender who preyed on children, and he would drug them. He would drug his victims using a white washcloth that would hang out of his pocket all the time, soaked in chemicals. He used diethyl ether to drug his victims. And he wore a white fitted dress shirt and black jeans that were faded all the time, and black dress shoes. He had ugly male pattern balding. He was white, and he lived with his parents in Alvin. All this happened in Texas, and they've kept it out of the media, just like they keep other stories out of the media. There's a reason why they don't want incest discussed in the media, because it's happening a lot in Texas. There's a lot of sex abuse happening. There are a lot of incest sex crimes that are happening in Texas. And the system itself is complicit with what is going on. The only time they want to prosecute these situations is when it becomes a public scandal. Thank you for listening. Don't let them silence victims. Don't let them silence survivors. The last thing you have left after they've taken everything else from you is your voice, your story.